This is about flamenco style on the piano. Now, you may have heard of the flamenco dance, but the flamenco on the piano is, he's focusing here on the harmony and the scales. And we're going to see if we can take some of this great wisdom and apply it to what we're doing today. So let's check out the flamenco harmonies and the flamenco scale.
Many Spanish mood approaches, including with Paco de Lucia. Could you explain how you made in scale harmony perspective? Okay, well, flamenco music has most of flamenco music, it has a sound that has a Middle Eastern sound and a Middle Eastern scale.
Turn up a little bit.
Various kind of scales, but it's got a sound like that. That's one of.
So let's look at this here on the keyboard real quick. Here's the chord, the flamenco chord, and there's the flamenco scale. If you notice, there's some half steps here. It's sort of like a backwards, some kind of weird backwards major scale superimposed over another major scale. Really, a way you could think about this is take whatever key you're in, go up a half step, and go to Lydian. Lydian mode, a half step up. Over top of this C here, so we're in C sharp Lydian. Okay, let's keep going here, Mr. Chick. What else you got for us?
The scales, but the very common scale. A lot of ways you can vary that scale. Like one way to do it is have a root note.
He's talking about ways you can alter this scale. So again, here it is right here. Notice these white keys smack in the middle of the scale. But then you can add a half step there. You can add a half step here. Almost starting to remind me of the Super Blues scale from my Scale Secrets video, but in reverse. Look at this. It's almost all half steps here. And then regular old minor scale in the top. So you can get all kind of cool, crazy, really wacky stuff. Again, stuff that I wasn't as much of a fan of as a kid, but this kind of weird kind of tonality where it's going in, it's coming out of the key, but smoothly, because you have just enough of those scale notes in there to keep you grounded in the key that you're in.
And then put a minor, the next note up. You have a C, put a C sharp.
C and C sharp.
And a G. And
with the G.
And then the scale that goes on top of that is this. R. It's basically a C scale. Well, no, I don't know what to call it. Forget the name.
I think we can officially dub this scale the Chick Corea flamenco scale right here. What is that, like a 10-note scale or something? Incredible.
And it's a resolution always to the sound. You know, like in Western music, you have a resolution to, a lot of times you have a resolving to a sound like that's a resolution. In flamenco music and Iberian music, you have more or less
So check out the difference, the distinction that he's trying to make here. The difference between like Western music and American folk music, where we have this sort of very simple, kind of classical sounding, this type of sound that we're familiar with. But in the flamenco scale, it's almost like he's taking the same principle of 5 chord, 1 chord. Get my keyboard back up here. All right, here's our C. We go up 5, we got G. 5, 1. Go check out the 5-1 rule of music theory on YouTube. 5, 1. Now, in the flamenco music, since we're using this kind of strange scale, we can take the same idea and we're going to go to this flat 3. We're going to go to flat 2. And now we have sort of it's a resolution, but it has some spice in it, right? It's got some cayenne peppers in there now. So that's the idea here. You can, I guess the point of comparing these two is that they have a similar type of gravity to them, right? So if we're going through our song and we want to just spice up just a little bit, combine them together like this. Use the Western 5 chord, and then go to the flamenco 1 chord here with the crazy minor second there. So this seems to be the central point here of this video. We'll let it play out, but we've discussed the difference between the flamenco chord progressions as well as the scale, and compared it back to stuff that we know.
Then you do other things.
And right there, if you notice, if you're listening very closely, Chick Corea just played what I just demonstrated earlier, which is combining the classical 5-1 sound with the flamenco sound. Go back to that one more time. You'll hear it sort of switch on and off. Simple 5-1. We got our 5 note, 1 note there. So he's still using, he's not saying don't use Western chord progressions. He's saying combine it, folks. Interesting move there. On the keyboard, so you can see exactly what's happening. B flat, B to the C. Up top, whole steps. Up on the bottom, we got half steps. Really cool, sort of expansive sounds here. It sort of opens up the world of different cultures, different musics, different flavors, different sounds, different emotional qualities.
You can play around with that, but I suggest that you listen to a lot of recordings. One way to
And here's where he drops some names.
Do it is find some recordings that have flamenco music that you like, Paco de Lucia, Nino Josele has.
Nino Josele. When I saw this video, I was like, Nino Josele, who is that? Incredible guitar player, folks. And there's also videos of Chick and Nino together. If you're a fan of jazz, if you're a fan of like Latin jazz and that type of sound, you got to check out this guitar player, Nino Josele. And you got to check out the collaborations that he did with Chick. So let's keep moving here. The last video I got is about improvisation. So this is Chick Corea teaching his philosophy of improvisation. Now, both of these videos are videos that I've watched kind of a while ago. I haven't used everything in them, but this is one of those videos that really, really made an impression. Because what he talks about in this video is the idea of gradients and gradient improvisation. He doesn't necessarily call it that, but he mentions the idea of a gradient. Now, a gradient is almost like what you see in the background of my curtains here, how it kind of goes from the darker blue to the light and then almost kind of white over here in this corner. So this is a gradient. It's a little shade, a shade at a time, shade at a time, shade at a time. I have a funny story about color shades, but I'm not going to tell it in this video. I'll save it for another one.
So this is the beginning. First one. Here we go. So we're going to cover improvisation, and Bill's gonna, we're going to talk about it a little bit.
Talk.
So what we want to define it first.
Start at the beginning.
I thought that was a good idea because when people ask me, musicians ask me, they say, well, how about improvising? How do you improvise? What's it all about? Like, what do you do? What do you think about? All these various questions. I think to myself, well, you know, I've never seen a satisfactory definition of improvisation. So I want to try to give you what what I think of when I think of improvisation, which is just something natural you do. Yeah. Improvising is living. You like what I'm doing now is I'm improvising.
That's true.
I have a thought in my head, and I'm trying to get it out using the cumbersome medium of the English language. Right. It's really difficult. I mean, I could go like this. See, now I don't have to then try to say in words what that was, because that was improvisation.
Yeah, try to explain that one.
To try to define it in words, it's the natural thing that you do, that you've already decided you're going to do something and you're going to make a movement. So within improvisation, there are decisions that have to be made of what kind of freedoms and what kind of rules. There's freedoms, and then there's rules that you make. And that's how you come about deciding how much improvisation there's going to be in. Like you determine a pattern. You take a pattern, and then you decide how much freedom or how much rules and decisions you want in it. Let's take an example. Okay. I thought we'd use Armando's Rumba. Some people know Armando's Rumba. You know, this tune here. Okay, so here's the first phrase of Armando's Rumba. It's written right here. If you can read music, here it is, starting right at A. Right? So that's the first phrase. Yeah. Now that I can, if I'm going to play it exactly, I have to decide. I'm going to play that exactly. So, not much improvisation in that because I already decided. So then I'll say, well, let me play that same phrase and keep everything pretty much the same, but let me change the melody a little bit. So I could do something like... That was a lot of change. I mean, comparatively. Or I could do...
So we're we're talking about stuff that has the same kind of shape to it, the same kind of contour to it. There's something that's planned, that's decided, that's orderly, like a pattern. And then there's the aspect of unexpectedness, sort of spontaneity, deciding in the moment. So there's already decided, and then we're just going to go with the flow right now. Okay, so different ways to vary things while not straying too far from the source material. This is where the idea of gradients comes into play. How far away of a gradient, of a shade, of a color tone, how far away do you really need to go?
Or I could do even closer. I could change the tempo. It's endless. So with that kind of thing, you have a pattern, and you decide how closely you want to stick to a pattern. And the improvisation part comes is what freedom you give. Like, for instance, what if I say to myself, I decide, it's all decisions. What about if I decide, I'm going to play something before I start the melody. I'm going to improvise something and then play the melody. So then I'll go at it. It's free. I play what I want. There we go. I'll do another one, like play something even stranger.
By the way, I'm getting the vibe that some people that just heard that want to see that broken down real quick. I'm not going to do it note for note, but the idea of what he just did, it's stuff like this. What we're doing is we're playing the same intervals here in both hands, and then we're going to flatten them. So we're going from like D to D flat, A to A flat, both hands. And then if you can get that muscle memory down and really know where that next black key is going to land, you can get that kind of sound too. So that's another one of these style secrets, is this use of the parallel fourths, parallel stacked fourths here. And of course, the one we already looked at earlier with the fifth, with the little sus2 in there, a little 2 in the middle. Same thing works here. He may have been doing this as well. This kind of thing. You could also, it's a great left-hand pattern to use if you're improvising up top. Okay, now you're starting to sound like Chick.
You see, there would be like an infinite number.
All right, one more. Let's see if we can figure out that chord there. Something like this. All right, let me show you this chord real quick. Another one of these wacky dissonant style secrets. One of the more heavier, more outside things that you'll hear from Chick Corea is little clusters like this. And the thing that really kicks it into high gear here are these half steps, these little minor seconds, as we call them in Music Theoryville. And he's using that as like the resolution point as well. So it's almost like he just can't leave it alone. He just can't go to the regular old 1 chord. He has to just make it just weird enough, just to make you go, oh, what's that? Just put a little funk on it, right?
Ways to take a theme. So that's one basic way to describe improvisation. It's what you decide will be there as a pattern, and what you decide you'll be free about interpreting.
So that is
Improvisation.
the Chick Corea definition of improvisation. It's all about decisions. And when he speaks about the idea of gradients later in this class here, the point there is you want to be able to evolve your technique just enough. Like I was saying at the beginning, you don't want to push yourself so hard to think you're magically going to turn into this guy right here. It's not going to happen overnight. So take maybe one of these style secrets, start to rehearse it, don't use it on your gigs yet, if you even have any gigs with the virus going on. But don't use it at your gigs yet. Keep it in your back pocket. Save it for a special occasion, then whip it out. And what you've done is you've gone to that next gradient. You've finally broken through. Just push ahead enough. Don't incorporate all of this stuff at once. Your solos are going to sound like a mess because you're going to be just thinking about, oh, I have to do this. I need chordal harmonies. I need chordals. I need more fourths. And then he said, oh, we need clusters. When you're like thinking, this is what your solos end up sounding like, folks. Leave a comment if you've ever been there. All right, folks, that's the show for this evening. Remember to leave a comment down below, leave a like button, subscribe to the channel, do all that great stuff. Rest in peace to the great, the one and only Chick Corea.